Whalawhia tuhane e tau wala tala tutupu ke la tamai leo taong niwe ke ha honei. Kua tau singa e tau kumikumianga he whahinga ho leo leo ke he taha le kua he whahita pamale ne kua tukwa i taha tangatani ke whalipui tō hako mai whenang he lidi fuku John Key. Kua i loa mai kua lali tangata nei ke tukuha ke whalu lapa mo i tau talahauanga ke hana nā kei whia ke he tau puhala ke tau whakaongang tau tupe whaka te whono muat ke tau puhala tā vili tau vewe mai whalu whiwhirianga whoki. Kua i whakamamaanga e whahinga hua ni kua pehe kua tātua ia mai toka atua ke whalipui ha kua amuhia ia taha leo leo. Kai pehe mai tangata nei kua tau leo leo nei kua keli whakamamahia ia. Ntalahau i tak leo leo nā kai la whai hokotaki alu tōru kua moa mai he tangata nei mo nā kai iloa he mga honei kua whai whakahala na kai ka tuku atu kia ia. Hane whai kumikumianga ia whahinga hua ke mga honei ke whakamau pāpo mo whakatoa e tau kumikumianga whakatai ke mtahi kua whahitap nei ke iloa tōnu e le kua ni kua tupu. Kua haruki mui mtanga hua he motu ke whakaingasia talotu ka ina mo i takitahe tula vai hong furua whileta i lalo hefo he mtanga hua Pacific Adaptation to Climate Change, poke PAC. Kua matahi ku he tau ka moale ni ka mata tālang he tau tula vai ke he whale ni ku whakatūpa waki mai matanga hua PAC, mo i ku whakataka i ke tālanga i fuafua ke whāseau e tula vai. Kua whitaa whoki he tuwha atu e tau tula vai nege he te maanga takitaha, tō mai ke tātua e ke tau kaina, kai ke kua mau e tau halawai he tause. Pe he malu tōru ne kua whahole tau ngahua, kua whitaa ni he ngahua whoki whalua tau mtakau ka muta, ke tālanga e tau matapatsi meni ke tuku e tau tula vai ki lunga. Kua hoku atu e matangahua nei ki tuapa na mukuru makefu ha kupu liku mo tamgatonga ke whahitap nei, pese ni kua mau e tau tula vai, kua taha mena ni kua tōtua whakatose ha kua nākai la mau e tau hala vai ki he tau loto kaina. Falaflahi atu, listening into Radio Sunshine's news bulletin for today. Firstly, Niue police are in the middle of inquiries investigating an incident that resulted in a lone protester being put in prison last week. It is alleged that the man was in the process of putting up boards with messages in protest to his disappointment in government's supposed inaction to recycling and other policies. This was also timed to coincide with the official visit of Prime Minister John Key and his delegation, who arrived in Niue towards the end of the Pacific Mission visit for 2014. Niue police have claimed that the man was placed in custody after assaulting an officer, but the individual is claiming he was the one that was assaulted by officers. Chief of Police Tony Edwards says that the individual has not filed any complaints with the department and that they are unsure whether charges will be laid at this point in time. An internal inquiry is being conducted and will be summed up hopefully by the end of the week. That will give a clearer picture of what happened. Niue's PAC project is continuing to make headway with a drive to improve household water security by increasing rainwater harvesting and water storage capacity of households. In November of last year, the facility to mould the water tanks was set up, and the moulding process of the water tanks began to produce about 400 tanks with a 10,000-litre capacity each. The water tanks have been stored and distributed to villages, but the installation process has been a bit delayed as households have been instructed to have their waterways and gutterings prepared first before teams can work on tank bases and installation. Throughout the project, there have been various awareness-raising activities regarding water conservation and protection that's also related to climate change. Teams have been contracted to work on building bases for the water tanks to be placed upon and installed, and at the moment, contractors are working in Tuapa, Namkulu, Makefu, Hakupuliku, and Tamkotonga. Looking at our news stories from the region, it is already too late to save many small island states from being swamped by rising seas, according to the president of Kiribati. Even in the world, if the world agrees to dramatically reduce greenhouse gas emissions, total annihilation is now inevitable for Kiribati, Tuvalu, the Marshall Islands and the Maldives, with drastic impacts expected within the next 20 years, warned Anotitong. Last week, Marshall Islands Foreign Minister Tony de Bruyn said that rising seas had caused World War II skeletons to be washed from their graves. China and the US are the world's two largest emitters of greenhouse gases, which warm the planet, and this causes the sea level rise, which is now threatening to inundate the low-lying small island states. The US announcement of strict new regulations of coal-fire powered plants was welcomed this week in Bonn, where negotiations are discussing a new UN climate change treaty set to be signed in 2015, but Tong said he felt these efforts are too little too late. Fiji and the United Arab Emirates further strengthened their bilateral relations through a memorandum of understanding on military cooperation. The MOU was signed by the Republic of Fiji Military Forces Commodore Brigadier General Mosese Tikointonga and Major General Staff Pilot Mohammed Rashid Obaid Al Ali of the United Arab Emirates Armed Forces. The MOU will allow exchange of defense-related information, military training and education, as well as a cooperation in the areas of security. Major General Ali of the UAE Armed Forces said that the MOU is a huge step forward in enhancing military cooperation between the two countries. The UAE Armed Forces also expressed their appreciation to the Fijian government for hosting them. In another first for Fiji, the Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Permanent Secretary Amina Yamvoli takes up the vital role as chair for the subsidiary body of implementation for the UN body that looks after climate change from this month. Climate change negotiations are currently underway in Bonn, Germany, encompassing the 40th sessions of the subsidiary bodies SBI and SBSTA, as well as the resumed second session of the ad hoc working group on the Durban Platform for Enhanced Action. The Paris COP is expected to take a decision on a successor agreement that will be the basis of a comprehensive global response to climate change that will address reduction of greenhouse gases, mitigation, adaptation, and the necessary support to countries to make this possible. Countries are being urged to take bold measures and ambitious targets to reduce emissions and ensure that the temperature rise remains below 2 degrees Celsius. Business as usual will lead to temperature rises that will lead to damaging and irreversible impacts on life and ecosystems with devastating consequences. A voter education training exercise for the media industry was conducted by the Fijian Elections Office. This follows the induction of 18 civic educators for the voter education program, which begins next week. On the 4th of August, the President is expected to issue the right for elections. So from today until the 4th of August, members of the public have time to register to vote. And for those who have already voted, they can make necessary corrections to their registration details. Outlining the voter education program, which will start from next Monday, the Elections Office Director for Communications, Joshua Tuwere, said it will focus on what is new in this year's elections. Postal voting is available to registered voters in Fiji and overseas. Voters registered overseas will also be required to apply to be eligible to receive postal ballot. The forms are now available on the Fijian Elections website or the nearest voter information system centre. The Papua New Guinea Ombudsman Commission is under threat from other institutions that could take over its functions and responsibilities. The Independent Commission Against Corruption was singled out by the watchdog as one of such organizations. Zooming in on the strategic plan, they say they will continue to collaborate with other agencies and organizations. Security company G4S said a deadly riot at an Australian immigration detention centre this year could have been avoided if the government had provided better security infrastructure and processed languishing asylum applications. Australia uses offshore detention centres in Papua New Guinea and the tiny South Pacific island nation of Nauru to process would-be refugees trying to reach the country, often in unsafe boats after paying people smugglers in Indonesia. One asylum seeker was killed and more than 60 injured during riots in February at one such facility on Manus Island in Papua New Guinea. Just weeks after the riot, Australian management firm Transfield Services won a $1.2 billion Australian dollar contract to run both of Australia's Pacific Island immigration detention centres. ABC Managing Director Mark Scott has hit out at the federal government's attitude to the broadcaster, saying the public is more in tune with the organization's true value. The comments follows last month's budget in which the ABC lost its $220 million contract to run the Australian network and was dealt a 1% funding cut. Scott said on Tuesday that ABC would try to find efficiencies, but the effect of potential future cuts was a concern. Responding last month to questions on the ABC cutback, Treasurer Joe Hockey told the Today Show that the broadcaster had not produced an efficiency dividend for up to 15 years, while every other area of government had. To complain about a 1% cut was frankly ridiculous, Hockey said. And those are our news stories from the region, as well as today's local news bulletin here on Radio Sunshine.